So, Pierdante, I have this question for you. First of all, let me briefly summarize your story, which is an exceptional one. 19 cases around the world. Now, I don't know if any others have been found. You are one of these 19. And the story is this. When Pierdante was 54 years old, in 2013, he had a car accident that caused him to lose the last 12 years of memory. And it's a shame that during those 12 years, he had become a very important figure, first as the chief of the emergency room, a university lecturer, a consultant for the Ministry of Health, and so on. You lose all of this in an instant, you lose everything. And among other things, they offer you a disability pension, which you refuse after 2 terrible days. And in about 6 months, you recover almost 12 years of medical knowledge due to an extraordinary ease of learning that you find within yourself. So, practically within 2 years, you return to being a chief physician. Among other things, after the mistreatment and humiliations from your superiors, especially the general director. But before returning to be a chief physician, before being reborn, yours is truly the story of a person who rises again. You define yourself this way, you hit rock bottom. In other words, you sink into hell. And so I am really interested in that moment, because at the moment you hit rock bottom, something happens to you. At a certain point, you say that you change your gaze. From the past to the present, you accept the present. The question is, does your radical change come from accepting the present? Where does it stem from? If possible, I will read a passage from your wonderful book, -12. Regarding this change, someone asks you how you did it, and you respond that it was with the help of many, of course, but above all, by yourself. Simply thinking that what was happening to me was, all in all, an opportunity. It is a unique, extraordinary occasion that fate may have given you if you know how to seize it. What other person has the chance to start over? I have realized that precisely because of what happened to me, those who truly cared for me now care for me even more. I have an intense desire to start over, not to return to who I was before. That person will never come back. But I can still be better than I was before. So I ask you, this right? As Luke said, you have transformed tragedy into opportunity, right?
You have become a new man. Perhaps you have simply become yourself. But how has this happened that you must impose it on yourself? Perhaps, indeed, you know. I was thinking, while you were reading what I wrote a few years ago now, that only the dead can rise. And to rise means to be alive. So in the end, the living can also rise, which is not a contradiction. Being alive means accepting what happens to you and truly trying to change your perspective, seriously transforming what you consider a setback, a loss, into an opportunity. My children prepared a tiny slide for me in which they pointed out that it's a matter of consonants. You just need to change one consonant, transforming bad luck with a G into a challenge with a D, which sounds simple when put that way. In reality, you need to have people by your side, a family, friends, faith. Wow, faith really matters. It's something that reminds you every evening that life is truly a gift, that what you experienced that day could have been different, and therefore you must be grateful because it was Clearly, for better or for worse, so much willpower, so much desire to prove. I speak of my story to show my children that it is truly possible to make it, that if you want it, you fight and you succeed, and the anger you feel when you sink into the hell of illness can be transformed into something positive. I could conclude by saying that you can make it if you get help from others, but especially from yourself. Thank you.
I don't know if you want to intervene, Don Eugenio. First of all, I will ask you the question, and then of course we will also react to what we hear that strikes us from others. Your question is this. First of all, how did the little squares come about? What do they mean to you? What significance do they hold for you? And if this experience, which we have understood, was born for the sick, is it possible for everyone, even for those who are not sick, and even for those who do not have faith?
So, this experience, this is how I also respond to this question that intrigues me a lot. It questions me a lot because according to, forgive me, but we definitely need to meet, you and I, we need to talk.
It is a threat.
No. In the meantime, I am old too, so I have passed 65.
Also past, all old.
Because there is one aspect that strikes me. It is true that it depends on you. But the experience I am having as well, I also visit the sick throughout Italy. This experience started 3.5 years ago from a friend who is here in the room, who called me one day and said, Don Eugenio, I am at home with my mom. I can't go to Mass because I have to take care of my mom. We follow the Mass from TV 2000, but if you are at home sometimes and celebrate Mass at home, if you connect with us via Skype, it becomes a bit more interactive. I read the reading, you respond, and thus the first Mass was born with this friend and her mom. Right away, we realize that it is a beautiful thing, it is a big thing, and we realize that who knows how many people are in the same situation as you, who are at home, sick, cannot go out, are ill, are in bed, would like to celebrate the crap, would like to feel part of it, not just watch. So nothing, immediately, another friend, another friend, another friend, another friend, another friend, and in these 3.5 years, it has now become a daily Mass. I celebrate Mass every day, either in the hospital or at the homes of the sick, and we connect via Zoom with this whole world of sick people. Today, after 3.5 years, we said goodbye to our 201st friend as she has gone to heaven. There are many. Every day, we are faced with this world of sick people. Inside, there are all kinds of people. Beautiful, ugly, angry, depressed, because this is a wonderful thing, in my opinion, about illness. When it was said that it can become an opportunity, it is true, a wonderful opportunity. But when you are sick, let's start with us who are here. Do we feel it as an opportunity? A gift? We can also use this term, an occasion. What does it take for it to become an opportunity over time? Because we have friends who enter this, this community, this group of angry people. It's not like someone comes in and says, oh, how nice, I found my light. What a beautiful opportunity. And they are furious, angry with themselves, with the world. Why? We see it. The wonderful thing is that illness or a negative circumstance in life, as we grow, brings out in a powerful way what? That we are made for happiness. Is it paradoxical? It is paradoxical, but all the evil, the limit, come on. But I didn't do it because of the illness. Friends, illness is a pain. Now, I don't know what you think. Bad things are bad, right? Do the things that hurt really hurt? The great challenge that all of this brings to light. But I, like that child who experienced it as an adult, ask myself the question, but is life a scam? The life that it promised me? The life that instilled in my heart this desire for goodness, infinity, happiness, and beauty? Then, when looking at practical life, no, life is a scam. So, it's amazing. The experience I'm having with the little squares, I won't explain everything to you, obviously, but for those who are interested, I have a YouTube channel where there are hundreds of meetings and testimonies that you can check out. What impresses me is, you've already seen one, Maria Silvia, when at the beginning she told us they found a brain tumor. There's nothing more to be done. I have a few months to live. But did you look her in the face? Did you look her in the face? Beyond what she said, I don't care about what she said. Did you look her in the face and look at her husband? I have the opportunity every day, like you, to go and meet faces that tell me, that show me the explosion of life that the illness produces in each person. Every now and then they tell us, but you are a group that is preparing for death, and we touch everything there is to touch. We make the horns because we are not a group of friends preparing to die. We are a group of friends who want to live the real life intensely. This is the greatest gift that is happening to us. And I finish with an example, because our friend from Rimini, who passed away almost 2 years ago, a beautiful woman, Laura, fantastic, had a tough cancer, and she wanted to live. She wanted to live. She wanted to live, but endured endless pain in her last days. She impressed me, and she impressed us, which is why I use these two expressions. Now I am at peace. I just want to go and embrace Jesus. She wasn't one of those women who see the Madonnas, okay? No, he has lived the now. I want to go see and embrace Jesus. And second, she told her dad, I wish that when Jesus, God, comes to take me, after 2 days, when he comes to take me, he finds me alive. But have you ever heard an expression that speaks of death? When it happens, I want the Lord to find me alive. Is it possible to live with illness like this? Yes. Why? Because I see her every day when I go to visit these patients. Later, I might also give you 2 or 3 more examples.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Francesco. So, first of all, we are curious to understand how some of the stories you mentioned earlier come to be. I mean, when I met Pierdante, starting from my experience, I was impressed by how much he resembled the doctor from the series. There was an incredible resemblance in the true sense of personality, even a bit physically. And so I wonder, how did you let yourself be provoked by the true story when they asked you to make a documentary? How did the documentary come about? What does it mean for you? And how do you empathize with such different stories that perhaps have nothing to do with your own experience? I think that if someone experiences something, they can then convey something alive to someone else. But how do you do it? Do you live so many different stories?
So doc was a great opportunity. Illness is an opportunity. For a screenwriter, encountering a narrative challenge is a great opportunity. An opportunity that, however, initially terrified me because it all started in 2017 when we began working on the doc, because a production company asked me to consider developing a medical series for Italian screenwriters up to now. Now, the idea of creating a medical series was almost like becoming a kamikaze. On Italian television, doctors had never worked, they had never worked, and it was thought that the Italian audience was a bit superstitious, a bit uncomfortable with seeing hospitals and talking about diseases. There was this belief, yet in the rest of the world, medical series are a staple of television produced in abundance every year worldwide. So one wondered why it had not succeeded in Italy, blaming the audience. Instead, this producer courageously said, no, we have to do it. We have to do it because it is also a public service to talk about these issues, and if it works abroad, we need to make it work in Italy as well. And in this context, I encountered the story of Pierdante through his topography, -12. So it was primarily an encounter with a story that, if it weren't true, would seem invented, almost unbelievable. But that is where a further journey began, personally getting to know Pierdante. Pierdante, in 2017, let's say, I experienced a journey similar to that of Pierdante. We had already spoken once in 2017 when I had met him. The drama of amnesia was still quite fresh because he had regained the position of chief physician only a couple of years prior. So he was still a very muscular version of Pierdante, very much, as he said before, wanting to prove that he could make it. Here, I met Pierdante, the warrior in that phase, who, yes, perhaps deep down was saying yes, it was an opportunity, a good thing, but he was still in the phase of saying, I made it. I am an alpha male. I have overcome this obstacle and reclaimed what was mine. With him, Over the course of these years, from 2017 until now, we have been in contact for 7 years. And I have seen Pierdante himself process this experience and use different words and emotions at times to tell his story. So I saw it being born within the reading of what had happened to him as an opportunity, to the point of saying it is a providential thing. It is something that made me better, which was something paradoxical, bright. And there is where the journey began, the incompleting journey began. There I had the opportunity to spend time in the ward with a ward. Another of our consultants is Professor Raffaele Landolfi, chief physician of the internal medicine department at Gemelli, who gave me the opportunity to spend days in the ward dressed as a doctor, and thus participate in the discussions of the doctors and talk with many patients. So I have witnessed diagnoses in unfortunate situations, hopeless prognoses, and for the first time, I have experienced it. Personally, living it like any other person, experiencing it as a doctor, alongside other doctors, is a different experience because there you have a specific point of view. And from this experience, from Pierdante's life, and from this type of experiences that were later lived, a long journey began that led us to create the first edition of Doc, which, as I mentioned earlier, was presented to Italy at a pivotal moment. The first episode of Doc aired on March 26th, 2020. You can imagine we knew that we would be airing on March 26th. We had known since September of the previous year, so we had been working on this series for 3 years, day and night, and then COVID broke out, and of course there was widespread terror. We can propose such a cursed series, namely the medical series, to Surayuno at a time when Italians are talking nothing but illness and are seeing hospitals and death from illness on their screens from morning till night. In that moment, I must say, one of the brightest words came from Pierdante, who, having participated in the development of the series and having seen it, told us not to worry. My story, as it is told in this series, will soothe the pain of the viewers because it portrays illness and the work of doctors as an adventure filled with hope. Therefore, I must say, courageously, that RAI accepted to air this series, which I believe served the public good during those months by opening a window of hope without euphemisms. From the very beginning, Doc speaks of death. Patients die. Diagnoses are often grim, but things are called by their name, yet without despair. Because, as Pierdante and Don Eugenio said, the doctor stands beside the patient, sharing with them the adventure of the therapeutic journey. This alliance is therapeutic in itself. And this is true in medical practice, as we have discovered. I have done nothing but try to convey what I have learned, and it is true that any viewer, even those who fortunately do not experience illness, sees it as a great example